It doesn't scream, it doesn't burn, it doesn't leave visible scars. But gossip is a kind of psychic poison, slow, subtle, and devastating. Every word we speak carries frequency, and some frequencies don't just bounce off walls, they burrow into people. When we engage in gossip, we're not just talking, we're transmitting distortion. A distortion that alters the energetic field, both ours and theirs. Ancient wisdom traditions knew this. They warned that careless speech isn't harmless, it's karmic debt. Not in the religious sense, but in the vibrational one. Gossip is a spell cast without consent, a thread that binds the speaker, the listener, and the subject in a loop of energetic leakage. And the more you participate, the more your own aura frays. You start feeling heavy for no reason, drained without effort, disconnected without knowing why. Because every time you speak with malice, the echo stays in you longer than in the room. You don't need to raise your voice to lower your vibration. Gossip does it silently. Drama does it subtly. Toxic talk is disguised as bonding, but it's actually binding. Energy doesn't lie. Every time you speak ill of someone behind their back, you chip away at your own field. And worse, you open portals. Because every malicious word spoken about another opens a back door into your own consciousness. Now, you're no longer just affected by your thoughts. You're hosting the energetic residue of someone else's shadow. Ancient mystics taught that when you slander, you become entangled with that person karmically. You think you're walking away free, but you're dragging invisible threads. Threads that tangle your intuition, that fog your clarity. And what begins as harmless conversation becomes an energetic contract. One signed in whispers, sealed in guilt. The price? Your peace, your alignment, your sovereignty. You didn't just speak words, you spent energy, and the debt accrues interest. Words carry frequencies, and when spoken with emotional charge, they don't just vanish, they echo. Every rant, every complaint, every judgment you voice leaves a trace in your field. You think you're venting, but you're imprinting. Your aura, which should be your sanctuary, starts absorbing the storm. Bit by bit, it calcifies, becomes reactive, heavy, muffled. Then, you wonder why meditation doesn't work like it used to. Why your clarity is foggy. Why synchronicities stopped flowing. It's because you're not vibrating. You're vibrating noise. And noise blocks alignment. This is the hidden cost of unconscious speech. Not just what you say, but the state you reinforce by saying it. You anchor yourself to the frequency of what you repeat. Talk fear, become fear. Speak lack, live lack. Gossip darkness, dwell in it. The ancients warned us, to speak is to cast. Every word a spell, every phrase a code. You are not just expressing reality, you're creating it, shaping it, casting it into form. So the question is, what kind of magic are you practicing? If you're tired of letting toxic talk hijack your energy, subscribe and ring the bell. Your field deserves better, and you know it. Most people think gossip is harmless. Just talk, just words. But spiritually, it's one of the most corrosive frequencies you can carry. When you speak ill of others behind their backs, you're not just harming them, you're fracturing your own field. Gossip splits your energy. It anchors you in comparison, judgment, and projection. You become a mirror not of truth, but of distortion. Your aura, instead of glowing, begins to flicker. Instability enters. And where there's instability, there's infiltration. Energetic vulnerabilities open up, allowing toxic patterns, people, and parasitic forces to feed on your weakened vibration. What starts as casual chatter becomes an energetic transaction, and you're paying with your peace. The ancients knew this. That's why the Sufis, Buddhists, and Taoists all warned against careless speech. Not because it's wrong, but because it weakens the vessel. Weak vessels can't hold light. They leak. So the more you gossip, the dimmer your soul's lamp becomes, until one day you can't even hear your own intuition, because the noise has swallowed the signal. Energy doesn't lie. Every word you speak leaves an imprint. When you engage in drama or toxic conversations, you're not just reacting, you're aligning. Your vibration adjusts to match the chaos, and soon your energy field begins to crave what it once rejected. Like an addict returning to poison for comfort, your system normalizes dysfunction. You seek gossip not for truth, but for adrenaline. You seek drama not for clarity, but to feel alive. But there's a cost. Every time you lower your frequency to match noise, you distance yourself from inner guidance. The heart speaks in silence, but noise deafens, and the louder the world becomes, the more invisible your soul feels. This is how you lose yourself, slowly, quietly, unknowingly, until your days are filled with commentary, conflict, and confusion, and none of it is actually you. The real you doesn't need to win arguments. It seeks peace. The real you doesn't compete for attention. It radiates presence, and the more you entertain the false, the further you drift from the real. So the question isn't who's right. It's, what is this doing to your field? Most people think energy hygiene is about crystals, incense, or salt baths, but that's cosmetic. True energetic hygiene begins with the mouth, because what flows from it either purifies or pollutes. Words are spells. Every complaint you voice, every judgment you throw, every sarcastic joke, you're casting energy into the field, and the field remembers. It's not just about who hears it, it's about what it does to you. Toxic talk doesn't just affect others, it reshapes your own frequency. It trains your nervous system to seek conflict instead of coherence. It muddies your inner waters. That's why after certain conversations, you feel heavy. That's why gossip leaves an aftertaste, because your energy body knows when you've betrayed it. And betrayal, even silent, accumulates. Slowly, it disconnects you from your intuition. It clouds your discernment. You stop trusting your gut, not because it's wrong, but because you've numbed its signal. That's the true cost of careless words, not in what they do to others, but in what they steal from your own clarity. Gossip feels harmless because it hides behind humor, concern, or curiosity. But energetically, it's one of the most corrosive habits, not just because it judges others, but because it fractures your own integrity. When you speak of someone who isn't present, you split your energy. You send a part of yourself into their field without consent, and that has a cost. You dilute your own presence. You leak power, and over time, your words become weaker, because the universe won't amplify voices that dishonor truth. Every time you speak from shadow, you deepen your own disconnect. Gossip trains your mind to scan for flaws, your heart to mistrust, your spirit to shrink. It normalizes separation, and separation is the opposite of awakening. Real spiritual power comes not from avoiding negativity, but from refusing to be its messenger. The strong are not those who fight back, but those who don't pass it on, who see the poison and choose silence, who witness the drama but don't become its echo, because silence in a toxic world is not weakness, it's wisdom. In the end, it's not just what you say, it's what your energy becomes by saying it. Words are spells, and each sentence is a choice, to heal or to harm, to elevate or to erode. Drama, gossip, and toxic speech don't just stay in the air. They embed themselves into your field. They tangle your frequency with resentment, pettiness, and fear. Over time, they make your aura noisy, so even your silence starts to buzz with restlessness. But the good news is this: every moment is a portal back to clarity. You don't need to fix the past. You only need to stop feeding the distortion. Return to clean speech, sacred speech, words aligned with heart, not wound. When you speak from peace, you amplify peace. When you choose compassion, you broadcast clarity. And when you finally learn that not every impulse deserves a voice, you reclaim your power, not by force, but by presence. True strength is silent, magnetic, and rooted in discernment. So the next time gossip knocks, let your silence answer. Let your energy speak louder than your words, and let your field become a sanctuary, not a storm. What if every word you spoke shaped your energy? Would you still say the same things?